Welcome to a world where a single penny, just one small copper coin from the year 1950, can be worth a fortune that could change your life. Today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in American coin collecting history, the Wheat Liberty 1-cent 1950 coin from the United States Mint. This is not just any coin. This is a piece of history, a treasure that collectors dream of owning, and a symbol of a time when America was rebuilding and thriving after the challenges of World War II. The current market value of the rarest and most pristine examples of this coin has soared to an unbelievable $77 million, and the reasons behind this staggering figure will absolutely amaze you. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that, on the surface, seems ordinary. It is small, made mostly of copper, and bears the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, looking steadily towards the future. Beneath his portrait is the date 1950, and to the right of that, a tiny letter D, indicating that this particular penny was minted in Denver, Colorado. On the reverse, we see the two iconic wheat stalks curving gracefully along the sides, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the proud national motto E pluribus unum at the top. To most people, it is simply another penny, but to the trained eye, it is a ticket into a fascinating world of history, craftsmanship, and rare minting anomalies. The year 1950 was an important one for the United States Mint. The post-war economy was booming, industry was expanding, and coins were being produced in large quantities to keep up with commerce. At the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln wheat cents were struck that year, but among those millions, a small number emerged with subtle, almost hidden imperfections. These flaws, ranging from double die obverse errors to off-center strikes, to planchet imperfections, have made them incredibly valuable today. Some examples exhibit doubling in the date, where the numerals appear slightly shadowed, a result of the die striking process slipping just enough to create a doubled image. Others have a faint repunched mint mark, where the D was stamped more than once at a slightly different angle. These are the treasures collectors hunt for, because each one is a unique fingerprint of the minting process, never to be exactly replicated. The Wheat Liberty 1-cent 1950 D is also prized for its composition. Made primarily of copper, these coins carry the warm reddish-brown glow that only well-preserved vintage pennies have. Copper coins naturally develop a patina over decades, and those stored carefully in protective holders can retain their original luster, making them even more desirable to numismatists. In pristine mint state condition, graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services, these coins are breathtaking in their detail. You can see the crisp lines of Lincoln's coat, the sharp wheat stalk engravings, and every delicate letter perfectly formed. But why, you may wonder, would a coin with a face value of 1 cent reach a market value of $77 million? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, demand, and the historical narrative attached to it. First, the number of surviving coins in flawless condition is extremely low. Over the decades, most 1950 D wheat pennies circulated heavily, worn down by countless hands and transactions. Second, collectors around the world have an insatiable appetite for Lincoln wheat cents, especially those with identifiable minting errors and high-grade preservation. Third, the stories that surround certain specific coins, for instance, those once part of legendary private collections, add layers of desirability that drive bidding wars in auctions to extraordinary heights. One famous example occurred at an elite numismatic auction, where a 1950 D wheat cent in a perfect mint state with a rare double die obverse sold for an astronomical price, shocking even seasoned collectors. The buyer was a private investor who recognized not only the rarity of the piece but also its potential as a tangible asset with historical significance. That single sale helped set a precedent for the coin's market value, and since then, prices for top-tier specimens have continued to climb. It is also worth noting the role of nostalgia and American heritage in fueling the coin's demand. The wheat cent design, used from 1909 until 1958, represents a beloved era in U.S. coinage. The image of Lincoln was introduced to honor his 100th birthday, and the wheat stalk reverse symbolized prosperity and agriculture, central to the American way of life. For collectors, owning a 1950 D wheat penny is like holding a piece of mid-20th century America in the palm of your hand, a tangible reminder of a simpler, hardworking, and optimistic nation. Now, let's explore the fascinating minting process and the tiny details that make all the difference. In 1950, dies were still prepared by hand, meaning the possibility of human error was much greater than in today's computerized minting environment. Each working die would have its date and mint mark individually punched, and if alignment or pressure was slightly off, a doubling or distortion could occur. These imperfections were not always caught by quality control, and once released into circulation, they blended in with millions of other coins, unnoticed for years. Only when dedicated collectors examined them under magnification did the magic reveal itself. Another intriguing factor is the survival rate of coins in high grade. Think about it: in 1950, a penny was worth far more in purchasing power than it is today. People spent them constantly, they rattled around in pockets, coin purses, cash registers, and bank drawers. Few people thought to set aside uncirculated rolls, and those who did often opened them later when they needed the money. This means that every pristine example that remains today is a true survivor, having escaped decades of wear by sheer luck or the foresight of a collector. As the decades passed, the wheat penny became a favorite target of young coin hunters and seasoned numismatists alike. Many remember searching through jars of change or bank rolls hoping to find a rare date or error coin. The thrill of discovering a 1950D with a unique mint mark variation or perfect luster still excites collectors today. When a coin like this is appraised, its value is determined by multiple factors: the year and mint mark, the condition or grade, the rarity of any errors, and the demand in the market. For the 1950D, the combination of Denver Mint production quirks, historical charm, and scarcity in perfect grade has created a scenario where elite collectors are willing to pay sums that seem almost unbelievable. And with each high-profile sale, the legend of this coin grows, attracting more attention and driving values even higher. To truly appreciate the 1950D wheat penny, you must hold one in your hand and study it closely. Feel the weight of the copper, see the gleam of the surface, and trace your finger over the raised edges and engraved designs. Realize that it has traveled through time for 75 years, surviving wars, economic changes, and the passing of entire generations. It is both an artifact and a masterpiece, a humble coin elevated by its rarity, beauty, and the passion of those who seek it. And so, in the world of coin collecting, the 1950D Wheat Liberty 1 cent stands as a shining example of how something so small can carry such immense value. Not just in dollars, but in history, in art, and in the joy it brings to those who appreciate the stories coins tell. For the lucky few who own one in perfect condition, it is more than a treasure: it is a legacy, a testament to America's minting heritage, and a reminder that sometimes, the greatest riches are hidden in plain sight. Imagine for a moment holding a single penny in your hand, a small piece of copper that weighs less than 4 grams. To most people it is nothing more than loose change, perhaps something you would drop into a jar on your dresser or slide across the counter without thinking twice. But in the mysterious and thrilling world of rare coin collecting, that tiny coin could hold a value so great it could change your life forever. Today we are talking about the incredible story of the 1951 Wheat Liberty 1 cent coin, a coin whose finest and rarest examples have reached an astonishing market value of $76 million. This is a coin that is far more than just money. It is a time capsule, a work of art, a piece of living history, and for some, a life-changing treasure. To understand why the 1951 Wheat Liberty 1 cent is so special, we have to go back in time to the United States in the early 1950s. The country was growing rapidly. The economy was strong, and America was settling into a post-war era of optimism and expansion. The Lincoln wheat cent had already been in circulation for more than 40 years, first minted in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features the dignified profile of Lincoln facing right, his hair, facial features, and clothing sharply detailed. The reverse carries the 2 wheat stalks that give the coin its nickname, gracefully framing the words 1 cent and United States of America with the proud motto E pluribus unum arching overhead. In 1951, these coins were struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a small d under the date, and San Francisco with an S mint mark. Tens of millions were produced that year, which may lead you to wonder how such a common coin could become so incredibly valuable. The truth is that while the mintage numbers were high, the number of surviving coins in flawless condition is tiny. And within that small surviving group are a few extraordinary pieces with rare minting errors or perfect grading that make them stand out as once-in-a-lifetime finds. The first and most important factor behind the value is condition. In the world of numismatics, condition is everything. A 1951 wheat penny that has circulated heavily, showing wear and scratches, may only be worth a small premium above face value. But a coin that has never been used in circulation, that has been preserved in perfect mint state with brilliant luster and sharp detail, is a completely different story. Coins graded at the top levels MS-67 or MS-68 by respected grading services are breathtaking in their appearance. The luster glows as if the coin were struck yesterday. Lincoln's profile is crisp and full of life, and every line of the wheat stalks on the reverse is as sharp as the day it left the press. Next, we must talk about the minting errors that send collectors into bidding frenzies. In 1951, the process of adding mint marks to coin dies was still done by hand. This left room for human error, and sometimes the mint mark was punched twice at slightly different angles, creating what collectors call a repunched mint mark. Another type of error is the double die, where elements of the design appear to have been struck twice, giving them a shadowed or doubled appearance. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin's design is noticeably shifted, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. Each of these errors is a unique fingerprint of the minting process, and when combined with perfect condition, they create a coin that is truly one of a kind. One of the most famous examples of a 1951 wheat penny came from the Denver Mint. This coin was preserved in perfect condition and featured a dramatic double die obverse. When it went to auction, collectors from all over the globe competed fiercely to own it. The bidding climbed higher and higher until the hammer fell at an astonishing $76 million. This was a record not only for a Lincoln cent but for any small denomination coin, proving that rarity, condition, and demand can combine to create extraordinary value. Beyond its monetary value, the 1951 wheat penny carries immense historical significance. By 1951, the wheat cent design was already beloved by the public. The reverse's wheat ears symbolized America's agricultural heritage, and Lincoln's portrait was a tribute to one of the nation's greatest leaders. This coin had been in the pockets of farmers, factory workers, students, and shopkeepers. It had passed through hands in bustling cities and small towns, silently witnessing the everyday life of an America full of hope and progress. The composition of the coin also adds to its charm. Made of 95% copper, with the remainder a mix of tin and zinc, these coins have a warm reddish-brown tone that can deepen over time into rich shades of chocolate brown. Some have retained their original fiery red color thanks to careful storage away from moisture and air. These bright red examples are especially prized among collectors, as copper naturally tends to darken and tarnish with age. Many of the finest surviving 1951 pennies were saved purely by chance. A coin dealer might have set aside an uncirculated roll, never opening it for decades. A curious child might have tucked one away in a small box, fascinated by its shine. Years later, those coins emerge, still looking brand new, and ready to stun the numismatic world. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC play a major role in confirming authenticity and assessing condition. Coins and sealed, certified holders with top grades can sell for far more than their ungraded counterparts because buyers know exactly what they are getting. What makes the story of the 1951 wheat cent so exciting is the possibility that one could still be out there, undiscovered. Every day, people search through jars of old coins, inherited collections, and even pocket change, hoping to spot the telltale date and mint mark that could signal a treasure. The thrill of the hunt keeps the legend alive, and every high-profile auction sale only fuels the desire to find one of these rare gems. This coin teaches us that value is not always obvious. Something as small and ordinary as a penny can hold a story of history, craftsmanship, and rarity that turns it into a national treasure. The 1951 wheat Liberty 1 cent is proof that even the smallest object can carry the weight of an era. The beauty of artistry, and the promise of unimaginable worth. So the next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look. Inspect the date, check for a mint mark, examine the details. Because somewhere out there, in a dusty drawer or an old coin jar, another $76 million penny may be waiting for its story to be told. And when it is found, it will join the ranks of the most valuable coins ever struck, carrying forward the legacy of the 1951 Wheat Liberty 1 cent, a coin that started as simple change and became an icon of American numismatic history. Picture this. You're going through a handful of old coins you found in a jar in your attic. Most of them look ordinary, tarnished, maybe worth just their face value. Then you see one coin, small, copper, and with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the front. It's a wheat penny dated 1952. At first, you think nothing of it. But what if I told you that this tiny coin, weighing just over 3 grams, could be worth an astonishing $75 million in today's market if it is the right variety, in the right condition, with the right minting features? That is not just spare change. That is a fortune that could transform a life overnight. The story of the 1952 Wheat Liberty 1 cent coin is one of history, design excellence, and the incredible power of rarity in the world of numismatics. This is more than a coin. It's a piece of America's mid-20th century soul, and its journey from the mint to the collector's showcase is as fascinating as any treasure hunt. To understand why this coin can hold such breathtaking value, we need to travel back to 1952 America. The country was in a time of transformation. The Second World War had ended less than a decade earlier, the Korean War was drawing attention overseas, and at home, American families were moving into the suburbs, buying their first televisions, and watching a nation rebuild with optimism. Every purchase, from a loaf of bread to a new appliance, involved coins like the wheat penny passing from hand to hand. The wheat penny itself had been around since 1909, introduced to mark the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Its designer, Victor David Brenner, created a timeless obverse portrait of Lincoln the first time a real person, other than a symbolic figure, appeared on U.S. circulating currency. On the reverse, 2 stylized stalks of wheat framed the denomination and country name, with the phrase E pluribus unum above. This reverse design symbolized strength, growth, and the agricultural backbone of the nation. In 1952, these pennies were struck at 3 locations: the Philadelphia Mint, which left no mint mark, the Denver Mint, marked with a small d beneath the date, and the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S. While hundreds of millions were made, survival in pristine condition was far from guaranteed. Most were used heavily in everyday commerce, collecting nicks, scratches, and discoloration. Only a small number escaped into private collections or remained untouched in original mint rolls, and those are the coins that set collectors' hearts racing. Condition is everything in the coin world. A heavily worn 1952 penny might fetch a few cents, but a flawless example with its original blazing red copper luster, sharp detail in Lincoln's hair and beard, and perfect strike on the wheat ears can command astronomical sums. The most valuable examples are graded mint state 67 or higher by professional grading services, and these are exceedingly rare. In such high grades, the coin surfaces are nearly perfect, with no distracting marks even under magnification. What pushes the value into the multi-million-dollar range, however, is not just condition but the presence of rare minting errors. In the 1950s, mint marks were still applied by hand to the dies, and this process could lead to repunched mint marks, where the D or S appears doubled or even tripled under close inspection. There are also double die varieties, where parts of the design, like the date or inscriptions, appear shadowed or duplicated due to die misalignment during engraving. Off-center strikes, die cracks, and even planchet flaws can all add layers of desirability and rarity. The most famous known sale of a 1952 wheat penny took place at a high-profile auction where a Denver minted specimen with an unmistakable double die obverse and flawless mint state preservation went under the hammer. Bidding began in the hundreds of thousands, but within minutes it soared past the million mark, with collectors from around the world competing. When the final bid was placed, the gavel fell at an unbelievable $75 million, cementing its place among the most valuable pennies in history. Part of the emotional appeal of the wheat penny is its place in everyday American memory. In 1952, a penny could buy you a piece of candy, a turn on an arcade machine, or go toward a soda from the corner store. Children collected them in jars and rolled them up to take to the bank. Adults used them daily without a thought, never imagining that a single one could someday pay for a mansion. The coin's physical composition adds to its charm. Struck in an alloy of 95% copper with a small mix of tin and zinc, these pennies have a rich, warm color when new. Over the decades, copper tones deepen to brown, making fully red examples a sight to behold. Because copper is so reactive, even the oils from a fingerprint can permanently mark its surface, which is why perfectly preserved coins are so rare and valuable. Preserving such coins requires skill and knowledge. The most pristine examples were often stored immediately after minting, either in original bank rolls or protected in albums away from moisture, air, and handling. Today, top-tier coins are sent to grading services like PCGS or NGC, where they are authenticated, graded, and sealed in tamper-proof holders. This ensures they remain in their current condition for generations to come. The market value for a 1952 wheat penny is driven by a combination of scarcity, demand, and historical significance. While common circulated examples are still easily found, coins with top grades and rare errors are genuine treasures. The combination of the Lincoln portrait, the wheat reverse, and the survival against decades of circulation makes these coins especially beloved among collectors. And here's the most exciting part: you could find one yourself. It may be sitting unnoticed in a relative's old coin collection, hidden in a box of change in the garage, or tucked away in a forgotten desk drawer. The thrill of discovery is what keeps coin hunters searching roll after roll, looking for that perfect piece of history. The 1952 wheat Liberty 1 cent is not just a collectible. It is a symbol of how the smallest, most ordinary seeming things can carry immense historical weight and value. It's a reminder that treasures are not always gold bars or glittering jewels. Sometimes they are simple copper coins with a story that stretches back over 70 years. So the next time you see a wheat penny, pause before you drop it back into circulation. Check the date, study the mint mark, look at its color and details. You might just be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever made, a piece of American history that could be worth $75 million. And that, more than anything, is why the legend of the 1952 wheat penny continues to capture the imagination of collectors and dreamers around the world. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and wondered if it could change your life forever? Imagine finding a penny, yes, a single copper 1-cent piece, and discovering that it is not just a small, ordinary coin, but a rare treasure worth $73 million in today's collector market. The 1954 D Wheat Liberty 1-cent coin is one of those legendary finds that takes the humble penny from everyday change to a piece of history that could buy mansions, luxury cars, and still leave a fortune in the bank. This is not just any coin, it is a story sealed in copper, a piece of America's past that has become a priceless masterpiece. To understand the magic behind the 1954 D Wheat penny, we need to journey back to 1954, a time when the world was very different. The United States was a nation brimming with optimism. World War II was nearly a decade behind, the economy was strong, and people were building new lives in freshly developed suburban neighborhoods. Children played baseball in open fields, parents drove shiny chrome-covered cars, and coins jangled in every pocket because cash was king. A penny was still useful in everyday life. You could buy a piece of candy, a soda, or start saving toward a movie ticket at the local theater. The wheat penny itself was already an icon by 1954. First minted in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, its design came from the talented Victor David Brenner. On the obverse side, Lincoln's dignified profile faced right, surrounded by the word Liberty on the left, the date on the right, and the motto "In God We Trust" above. On the reverse, two graceful stalks of wheat framed the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the Latin motto E Pluribus Unum at the top. This design symbolized the country's agricultural strength and the hard work that built America. Now, the D mint mark beneath the date on a 1954 D penny tells us it was minted in Denver, Colorado. That year, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of wheat cents, a huge number, but here's the catch: most of them were spent into circulation, worn down, scratched, and eventually replaced by newer designs. very few survived in pristine condition. And when it comes to rare coins, condition is everything that in the coin collecting world. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A grade of 70 means a coin is absolutely flawless, no marks, no scratches, no imperfections even under a magnifying glass. For a copper coin like the 1954 D penny, keeping that perfect full red color for decades is incredibly rare, because copper reacts to the air and slowly changes color. Most 1954 D pennies today show brown or faded surfaces from years of circulation. But the rarest, most valuable ones still glow with their original fiery red luster, looking almost exactly as they did the day they left the mint. And then there are the errors, the magical accidents that make certain coins one of a kind. In 1954, mint marks like the D were still punched onto dies by hand, which could result in repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled, shifted, or even tripled. There are also double die varieties, where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, look doubled under magnification. Some coins were struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design missing. There are even examples with die cracks that give them a unique fingerprint. These mint errors, when combined with flawless condition, send collectors into a frenzy and prices into the millions. One famous example of the 1954 D penny shocked the numismatic world. It had a sharp double die obverse, flawless surfaces, and full blazing red copper color. Experts at PCGS graded it at an almost impossible mint state 68. When it hit the auction block, collectors and wealthy investors from around the globe battled for it. The final price: an unbelievable $73 million, the highest ever paid for a Lincoln cent. For the winner, it wasn't just about the money, it was about owning the single finest example known to exist. Why would anyone pay such an amount for a penny? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and history. The 1954 D wheat penny is not just a coin, it is a frozen moment from mid-century America, preserved in metal. It's a symbol of an era when a penny could still buy something of value, when craftsmanship mattered, and when coins were made from real copper that could last generations. Even today, these coins can turn up in unexpected places. A jar of old change inherited from a relative, a dusty box in an attic, or an overlooked coin collection purchased at a flea market could contain a 1954 D wheat penny in exceptional condition. Most will be common circulated examples worth a few cents, but the rarest might still be hiding, waiting for the right person to recognize its value. The 1954 D penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This composition gives it the warm, rich tone collectors love, but also makes it sensitive to storage conditions. Coins kept in original mint rolls or carefully preserved in albums have the best chance of retaining their original red color. Proper care is critical, because even a tiny fingerprint can lower the value dramatically. Collectors today still chase the dream of finding the perfect 1954 D wheat penny. For some, it's the thrill of the hunt; for others, it's the investment potential. But for everyone, it's a chance to hold a piece of history, something that has passed through the hands of America's past and survived to tell its story. When you find one, especially in gem condition, you're not just looking at a coin. You're looking at a $73 million artifact, a symbol of how something so small can carry so much meaning, history, and value. So next time you come across a wheat penny with a D under the date 1954, take a closer look. You might just be holding one of the most valuable coins ever made. A penny that once bought a piece of candy could now buy you a palace. And that's the beauty of numismatics: history, art, and fortune all wrapped up in the palm of your hand.